Yes. First of all, Mylan Hicks' service will be on Friday, and I'm not sure what time that'll be, but it will be on Friday, so we'll make plans to make it available for our football team to get down there and for myself as well. So anyway, a reflection on that. We need to refocus as a football team. I don't think there's any question about that. Disappointing situation last Saturday, but that's what this game is all about. It's all inclusive. So when you look at football, I think every play takes on sort of almost a life of its own. In that play, there's got to be execution. There's got to be, I guess, play calls and things of that nature, but execution and decision making, split-second decisions, and then you've got to come down and make that particular play work, whether it's offense, defense, or special teams. So it's coaching, it's players, it's playing, it's execution, it's all those things. We need to do a better job in all those areas, and it starts first of all with coaching better. So basically, I'll take some questions as we go and talk a little bit about BYU as we go, but we have to continue to find the inches. I don't think there's any question about that, and that's what's allowed us to have great success here, and we need to continue on with that mindset. Played very, very well on Saturday. Look forward to playing confidently.
Mark, two questions. First, Matt Coughlin, any discussion of taking the red shirt off of him?
No, not at this time.
Secondly, you've talked about wanting to use all three running backs. You want to go with the hot hand. Gerald wasn't used the first three quarters, was hot in the fourth, not used in the overtime. Are you happy with your running back rotation the way it's working out right now, or is that something that you guys need to address?
Well, I think, first of all, that it's pretty much like say, I think all three of those players are good players. It's hard to work three of them into the rotation and get them sort of enough reps or carries, I guess you would say. I think LJ's been the guy that probably carried most of the load. Gerald's had his moments. I thought Madre had his moments in the game as well. So all three of those guys are very, very capable players. So that's a positive thing. On the negative end of the spectrum, I guess you look at it and say, hey, you know, so-and-so didn't get in, or this didn't happen in this situation, or we didn't see this guy in this situation, those type of things. You know, we went with the guy that we thought we could get it done. Two of those plays, I believe, were passes. So, you know, it reflected as such. Disappointing the way overtime went, but, you know, got to play it out.
Mark, the last time you had a team that faced adversity like this with back-to-back losses was 2012, and I think Ed was the only player who wasn't a redshirt on that team. Is there anything that you kind of draw back to that season that you can bring into this one to kind of help rally these guys coming into this next home game?
Well, I think, you know, every football game, excuse me, every football game, every time you go out, as I open the press conference, you got to play with great emotion. You got to get the inches. You got to execute all those things. If you saw the 2012 situation, it mirrored some things that are going on right now, and the fact that you got to get off the field on third down, got to play well in the kicking game, got to make third down conversions, and when you don't, those things happening for whatever, play calls or whatever, execution or whatever it is, then you come up inches short. And I think that's what happened in this past game. We came up inches short. You know, not to take anything away from Indiana, but a lot of things going on in the football game where you could find a way to win the football game. So we need to be able to do those things, and that gets placed on my shoulders.
Mark, the offensive line, I see there's a little bit of shuffling this week. Cody's now over at left tackle after playing right last week. Is that just kind of a evolving situation to try and find that right combination? Or I know some younger guys have played. Is it just kind of a work in progress up there?
Like Higbee's played pretty well. He's been coming. He's had two, I think, solid games. So he's playing and he's maturing. He's a redshirt freshman. You know, you've got the left tackle situation. David Beadle struggled a little bit. Want to put a little bit more experienced player over there. Doesn't mean David won't play. Cody will still play around. I thought Machado played better, so he'll move back into that situation. So it's a little bit of a, you know, trying to figure it out type situation. We'll try and always hinge things on making decisions based on who's played the best in the last couple of games and what we have to do.
Mark, I know you said that your starting quarterback will remain the same, but how much of an emphasis is it to get other guys some experience this year, looking forward to next year? And is a mid-season non-conference game an opportunity to do that at all?
Well, first of all, we're not cashing out this year yet. We're a 2-2 football team. As far as the out-of-conference game, we need to win. We need to win the football game. So we're going to do what we have to do to win the football game. It's paramount that we win. In line of everybody's getting reps in practice and those type of things, we'll make the best decisions for the team going forward as to who our quarterback is. And right now, is Tyler O'Connor. And I think that the guy has leadership ability. I think he shows toughness on the field. I think he made plays. If we win the football game, if the head coach decides to go for 2 or we win the football game in overtime, he's the hero of the game. He took him down the field and scored. But because that didn't happen, gets thrown on the bus a little bit. So I don't think that's the reason we lost the football game. So as long as, that guy's always got to be a productive player for us. There's no question about that. A lot of things going on with a lot of penalties that took away scoring opportunities in the football game earlier. Took us out of, scoring position or whatever, put us in longer yardage situations. So it's like I said, it's all inclusive. Got to come up with more turnovers. We're not winning the turnover battle, which we usually have done. This time it was even. You usually have done that throughout our time. We've got to pressure the quarterback more effectively, no question about that, and come away with sacks. Probably the most important thing is every game starts with 15 minutes on the clock, and you got 60 minutes to play. So regardless of what's happened in the past, you have an opportunity to make it right and to play forward and to start to improve those particular situations that allow you to win a game. So that's what we have to do. I think there's conviction on our football team. I know our football team and everybody's hurting a little bit, and they'll be ready to play. I'm quite confident they'll be ready to play.
With Malik, obviously a very important player on your defense, what changes without him, and is anything different game plan-wise when you won't have him in the first half, but you'll get him back in the second half?
Well, he'll have to sit. He'll have to sit in the locker room, and wait. And, with that being said, it's going to provide opportunities for some other players. Brandon Clemens will play on defense this week. I think that's for sure. And he's a guy that's got defensive reps, and he's played. Austin Robertson will move back into defensive tackle some, so we've got guys, so we have the same amount of numbers at least, and we'll make it through the first half, and then we'll make some adjustments after that. I don't think you all of a sudden restructure your whole defense and say, okay, so-and-so's not in there, and let's change the whole defense. I don't think you can do those type of things. You can't make wholesale changes. But, certainly we'll miss Malik, but, there's nothing that I can do about that. Those decisions rest with other people, and you know how it goes. You guys are the writers, prognosticators, visionaries. There you go. Okay.
Speaking of
Visionaries, go ahead.
obviously,
Okay.
you mentioned third down defense. You're missing turnover margin. Those are 2 areas you guys have dominated in the past 4 or 5 years and are struggling this year. What are those symptoms of? Is it inexperience, or do you have? Is it?
The turnover margin. I mean, we've got opportunities for three other turnovers. Just really 4 right off the top of my head. They throw a corner route, and Copeland's got a chance to almost pick it. They throw one in the end zone. We've got a chance with Hicks ready to pick it. One goes through the hands of Andrew Dow, and then Monte Nicholson taps the ball back into bounds. Chris Fry taps it. We'll probably recover it. If he tries to fall on it, he didn't get it. Ball pops out of bounds. So there's 4 others right there. So again, those are guys just it's a ball flipping this way or flipping that way. Those are inches. All of a sudden you come out 4-1 or 5-1 in turnover margin. I mean, it's a different type of game. As far as quarterback pressures and things like that, we've got to find guys. We've got to create those things schematically, and then also we've got to cut it loose a little bit. But there are like 3 times where we had the guy and he got out of our grasp.
Mark, got 3 true freshmen now in the group at wide receiver. Looking back at Saturday, what did you see from them? And obviously Donnie had the drop, but how much and how integral are they going to be offensively going forward for you guys? And how do you work them in with all the veterans?
Well, first of all, when you're a young player, with ability if you're playing, and certainly you can recognize that with all three of those guys. But what you also don't recognize is that a route needs to be run at 18 and it's run at 13. Big difference for the quarterback. You got some drops out there. You got a guy running a route or not running a route when it's a pass route and he's out there blocking. I mean, that causes a problem for the quarterback. So there are growing pains that come along with playing young players. But the only way that you get better is by playing those guys and allow them to have those game experiences. They're going to be outstanding players, and we've got a fourth that's going to be an outstanding wide receiver. But there are growing pains as we go forward here with that, and they're going to make some mistakes, and they're going to make some plays. Donnie probably 9 out of 10 times going to make that catch. But that's the one time he didn't make it. Well, it's a crucial aspect of the game, but he didn't make the catch, but I'm fully confident he'll make the next ones. I've seen him over and over do that in practice. So as far as getting them reps with the older players, we've usually been able to rep 6 guys in there in a rotation of 6 guys, and I think those guys are pretty much in that 6-man deal. We wanted to do some different things with Justin Lane. I think he can get involved in special teams and things of that nature, and that was the reason for taking the red shirt off of him as well, because he can play in other areas as well. And that was one of the aspects with that.
Mark, 2 things, one at a time. This may be a short answer.
Could be.
Without asking you about well, I guess I am.
Yeah.
Any update on at least the availability of Hicks, Bulla, and who else? Hicks, Bulla, Fry. Any update on their availability?
Riley will not play this week.
Okay.
So I'll give you that update. But I think he's close to playing. So, but as of right now on Tuesday, I don't think he will be. I think the others will play.
I'm glad to hear you say the season isn't over, because you'd think otherwise by hearing and reading. Does that amaze you with the equity you've built up in this program, that people just kind of jump off the ship so quick?
No, not in this world. Not in this world. All you got to do is turn on that's the way it is. This is a supply and demand, instant gratification world that we're living in. And you guys all know that. And so, you get, when the good things come, you get probably an overabundance of praise. And when the bad things come, you might get an overabundance of criticism as well. But, that's why you're hired. You're hired to, I guess, steer the ship or whatever you want to say, in the stormy waters. We can't always just be floating along with the sail, so, but I will say this, when you have problems, there's usually great growth. There's leadership growth. There's growth in terms of what it takes to be able to accomplish things. And that's natural. So nobody felt like we'd be 2-2 at this point during the season. I'm sure most people thought we'd be 4-0. But here we are. So, and it's a place we haven't been for a while, but doesn't mean we're not going places. So we'll get there.
Mark, staying with are there any injuries that are
Same
long?
with that theme?
Same with that. Well, on the injury theme, which is, I know your favorite, any long-term injuries that guys who won't be back, like Raekwon didn't look great when he walked out, or any guys who you can talk about?
Yeah, we'll probably miss Raekwon here in the next week or 2 weeks. So, but we'll have to see how it all shakes out this week, but that's my indication right now.
Mark, we all saw the play and the replays, but did you get any explanation or clarification on what targeting is, especially in relation to Malik?
Well, I got explanations. We got explanations, and but I can't really talk about those things, guys. So what's done is done. I can't change it. I don't think it. I don't think it was. I mean, I don't know how you play football anymore sometimes. But I have a good relationship with the people in the Big Ten office with Bill Carollo, and he does the very best that he can. And I think it's a well-run organization that tries to look at every facet of a football game and make good decisions. But ultimately, the decisions are made at the game, and there is no appeal process with this. So that's a difficult situation to handle, but. it's the way it is, so
Would you like to
I'm
see
just
a
a
Sunday
small
appeals
cog here.
process where coaches could get
Sure.
something like that?
Sure, I mean, I think if you can go back and say that, oh, that was a bad hit, a legal hit, and put it on a guy without it being called in the game, then you should be able to do the reverse as well. But like I said, I'm just a voter.
Mark, kind of going on to the special teams theme again, we're
Yeah.
talking about Lane. I guess, first of all, what more can you get from your own return game? What kind of things do you want to see in preventing the returns? I think they had a long punt return. And on top of that, a little more clarification on the leaping as well. I read the rule, and can Martinez jump into a spot where nobody is and go forward, or can he not go forward at all on that?
Martinez can jump as long as he does not, the jumper can jump as long as he does not land on an opposing player. That's the rule. You can't hurdle or jump and then flip over and fall on an opposing player. That's the rule. So you have to go straight up, which again, that's a coaching thing, because I hadn't coached him to do that. Just, I had a guy that could jump, and that's coaching. If you're not coaching it, you're letting it happen. So there you go. That's on me. As far as special teams, Jake's got a great leg. Sometimes he's going to out-kick the coverage, and that's what happened on that one. You got to come under control. Coming down the field, when you're outside of 10 yards, you should come under control. So he's 15 yards. So, Martinez in this case was 15 yards away from the returner. He's got to come under control and keep the ball from busting outside of him. And he continued to sprint. And the guy caught the ball and was back up the field before he could gain control of that. So got a wall set up, and off they go. So, too many penalties on special teams, not making enough kicks. Return game needs to get better, get our blocks, everything set up to make it happen, structurally. But you should always review those things. So everything like you would imagine when things like this go on, you take a look at everything, you take a second look, you take a third look at everything that we're doing, and you try and adjust. And you say, is that schematics? Is that physical? Is that structural? Is there a critical error? Is there a mental error there, or a physical error? Why did it not work? Okay, so we try and take a look at that and try and make good decisions in terms of who's doing it, how it's being done, and are we practicing it? And that's what we've always done. We've always taken a very realistic approach, and that's what we'll do.
Mark, specifically, we know Michael Geiger has struggled, but in fairness to him, that kick in overtime, was that on Maksud, the way the hold there, why that kick was not successful?
I don't believe it was. I think the kick was missed.
Okay.
And he's got to Mike's been a good kicker. He's a very good competitor. He's made some big kicks for us, but he's got to be more consistent. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I felt like the kicks were coming off. He usually pops the ball, usually gets great height on it, trajectory in terms of the initial part of the kick. But I thought the first one block he did not get that, and I thought his kicks were relatively low pretty much throughout, even on extra points. So we'll take a look at that as well and analyze that. But I think he's a competitor, and he needs to bounce back when he has that opportunity. I want to talk about BYU.
I'll bite. All right. So BYU, they're coming off a tremendous offensive performance against Toledo, but they also have some defensive issues. I guess, what did you see from Hill and their running back in particular that allowed their offense to thrive?
Taysom Hill's a guy that's, he was hurt last year with the ankle injury, and before that with, I believe, a knee injury, but he was a productive quarterback prior to that. Gives him ability. He can throw the football. He's thrown for over 1,000 yards, and he can run the football. So he's a threat in terms of pulling it on the zone read type things. But he's a very, very good quarterback. All their games have gone down to the 2-minute to a 2-minute drill. When you look at their 2-minute drill tape, I mean, it's large. You're talking 5 games, you got 60-plus plays on it. So there's a lot to look at there and examine and say, okay, what are they, how do they get in this situation? But they've lost a couple of three very close games, 2 very close games. Williams is the number 1 running back in the country in yards after contact. I think he had 260 or 280 or so this last week against Toledo. A couple of big runs, breakaway guy, very good running back, number 21. Defensively, they play a lot of different people. So they're going to keep their guys fresh. Receiver-wise, they've got guys going down the field, bigger wide receivers. Probably 4 of them with very similar amount of catches or so. Kalani Sataki is in his first year there. I think he'll be very successful there, and looking to build a program.
Mark Comp, I think it was, dug up a stat in the offseason that 90+% of your roster has never experienced anything worse than 11 wins in a season in their time here. So, and they certainly haven't started 0-2 in conference play. So with that prospect and the goals being no longer in your own hands, how do you think they'll respond?
Well, our goals are still in our own hands in terms of what we can accomplish here, first of all. How would I respond? I guess with that little stat that you gave us, I don't want to be too critical, but some guys, they've been born on third. You know what I mean? They haven't experienced the pain that others have gone through to get to this place, to where it's at. And sometimes you need to go back and you need to take stock in where this place has come from, what has happened to get it to there. It just doesn't happen. Just because you show up here doesn't mean that you automatically got to win. That's whether you're coaching, or that's whether you're the head coach and had that success. You have to re-examine what you're doing, re-examine how you're doing it, and make some good decisions. And as a player, you have to dig deep a little bit sometimes. But I think when you do dig deep, you build equity, you invest, and in that investment comes success. And sometimes that you just think it's going to happen just because you show up. It doesn't necessarily going to happen because everybody's got players, everybody's got a plan, everybody's trying to work that plan, and everybody's trying to do the same thing. And there's a ton of parity in college football. Just look around. I really didn't have a chance to look around college football or pro football this weekend, but just look around. I mean, the parity in college football, the players and the teams that people have, and some places are coming out of nowhere. Some places are going the other direction. So we need to get ourselves together and get ourselves ready to play and get ready to go. But that's what I would say. But that's an enlightening stat. That's a good stat. That's a great stat. And I guess we'd be proud of that stat, but at the same time, you got to look and say, how much pain have we suffered? It just doesn't happen. There's got to be some growth. We've got a young football team in a lot of respects.
Mark, I know that we've talked about it before with you in the winter, but can you kind of revisit Muffy's recruitment and what you've seen from him thus far since he's been on campus, and I guess the special circumstances of him going on a Mormon mission and how that differs, I guess, because that whole program often has to deal with that.
Yeah. Well, we recruited Muffy, and he decided to come, and then going on a mission trip. And on the mission trip, he had a knee injury basically from high school right before he left on the mission trip. I think he was actually hiking in the mountains and coming out of the mountains and slipped on ice and injured his knee. So he didn't have surgery on that knee, went on the mission trip, but it became too difficult for him to fulfill that part of it. So came off the trip, got the surgery, rehabbed for 6 months at home, brought him in at mid-year. Really couldn't practice much in the spring, could a little bit, but not much. So he's just like any other freshman, he's just 1 year removed from high school because he started the mission trip. So He's got great athletic ability. He's very flexible. He's probably, 6'5", 255, 260. I think he'll be a very good player for us. Just not quite ready yet. Just still trying to find his way, acclimating to college football at this level. But from Salt Lake, so very familiar with BYU, was recruited by them and everything, and outstanding young person. Should be very successful here.
2 BYU questions for you, Mark. First of all, their penchant for throwing the ball and scoring points. Does that make you adjust a little bit your offensive style, knowing it's not going to be a 10-10 game, points are going to be scored? That's the first one.
Well, their scores indicate they've been, people have played them well defensively, so their scores aren't always, 53-51 or 53-52, whatever it was. We've got to play defense like we know how to play. Got to tackle in space. Got to cover down the field. They'll be one-on-one. They create one-on-one matchups. I don't think there's any question they create those, whether you're in zone coverages or man coverages. The quarterback's going to make plays, but they're going to run the football. Been productive, but other people have held them down as well. They've had some low-scoring games as well in the teens. 2 of them in the teens, 1 of them in the 20s, and a couple of them higher. So we'll see what we get.
Secondly, when people look just at stats and don't maybe understand football, they would look at your defensive backs of having been targeted. But how much is really on the fact there hasn't been a pass rush, and no matter who you play, if they have time, they're going to eventually pick any defensive backfield apart?
As a defensive back, you got to play the ball in the deep part of the field. That's probably the most critical thing, probably the biggest thing that you see right now in college football across the board. Regardless of where you're at, you're seeing guys making plays on deep balls, either defensively or offensively. So that's part of it, and then the other part of it, you got to get a pass rush on them. You got to pressure the quarterback. You got to make it difficult for them to throw or get the ball out quicker, and then you got to tackle in space. So, we've got good players back there. We've got experienced players. They're going to gain more experience as we go. But it's all tied together. Linebackers, defensive front, structurally, what are you calling? Are you pressuring people? Are you playing coverage? Are you rushing 3? Are you rushing 6? Are you rushing 7? Do you, blitz them, max blitz them, things of that nature? There's always repercussions in terms of what goes on, and it's a decision-making time for the coaches, and we put them in the best positions we can, but it's not foolproof, obviously. So, again, I'm a defensive coach. It's going to start with me, and we're going to figure it out and get it fixed and going to play well. Okay, thank you, guys.